I had to do a video about the crazy story of Tony's Chocolonely. This is the chocolate bar that is taking over the world. But do you know the backstory of this small Dutch company that has started 20 years ago to change the industry forever? And what is the message behind it? Because it is a wild backstory. Basically, there was 3 journalists. One of them called Tony, the other one called Roland, and the other one called Maurice. In 2003 on Dutch television, they created a show about food production. And once they started looking into how chocolate was made, they realized a lot of it came from child labor and child slavery in Africa. Eventually, they kept looking into this more. A treaty was signed between all the chocolate companies to end this. 2 years later, they went back. Nothing had changed. The chocolate companies weren't sourcing anything ethically. It was all being made still by child slavery. So they decided, we're going to do something about that. So then what pursued is one of the craziest stories I've heard in how a business got started. Basically, before they had the idea to create their own chocolate, they still wanted to make a change. So what happened next is Tony decided he should be arrested. In 2005, he reported himself to the police in Holland that he just ate loads of chocolate bars on TV that he knows were made out of child slavery. They were like, what? Nobody wanted to do anything, but he persisted. And eventually he got arrested. In fact, I think he even went to the police station and handed himself in. Eventually, it went to court. They didn't get charged or anything, but it highlighted in Holland that child slavery was being used to make chocolate. You can see them here on the screen. This is them outside the court in 2005, I believe, 20 years ago, having just finished the case in Amsterdam, highlighting the child slavery is used in the creating of chocolate. Now, what this did is created a huge amount of publicity in Holland behind the issue. Knowing that none of the big chocolate companies were going to do anything about this, putting profits first, he decided to be the change he wanted to see. So these 3 guys that were basically journalists, they weren't entrepreneurial, they were journalists. They decided to create a business themselves. Now, the 3 founders decided that Tony was the face of the company because he did the publicity stunt. His name in Dutch isn't actually Tony, it's spelled T-E-U-N, but I can't say that, so I'm just going to go with Tony. Tony was the face, so they called it Tony's Chocolonely because the publicity had been behind him. Tony's Chocolonely was born in 2005, except it was born different because they were only sourcing their chocolate from adults in Africa who could be paid a livable wage by them, so that the chocolate was not sourced using children and would help prevent the use of child slavery in their products. This guy literally wanted to be arrested, wanted to be put in prison to help raise awareness of this problem. Unbelievable story, and what courage from them. I mean, I know journalism sometimes can have a bit of that going all the way to get the story done right, but I mean, this is really going all the way to get the story done, to make a point and to try and create change in the world. But the world wasn't changing. Tony's Chocolonely was born. The inside of the chocolate bar is unique because it's broken up to highlight the disparity in pay distribution between all of the countries producing the chocolate and how the profits get distributed. So when people open up a chocolate bar from Tony's Chocolonely, you can very clearly see there's a marketing deep message behind it. And it's a reminder every time that you open one of these chocolate bars, there's a reason it's made. And it's a reason it's made like this. It's to make the world a better place. It's an unbelievable marketing message. This is more powerful than a 10-minute TED talk. Just having this constant reminder that when you eat Tony's Chocolonely, you're actually making the world a better place, taking the profits that would have gone to another chocolate company into a company that's at least sourcing it ethically. Here's a picture of Tony when he was in Africa, and the team were meeting the farmers, meeting the people that were going to source the chocolate for them, so that at least you know it was done correctly. Now, what they also ended up doing was creating their own supply chain called Tony's Open Chain. Tony's Open Chain allows other companies producing chocolate that don't know how to source it ethically, and they don't really have the resources that this company has built up over 20 years in the industry. And you can now get your chocolate made by them. They predict this will be a bigger business for them than the chocolate bars they're already producing, which is a pretty wild statement considering the scale of the company already. I mean, they're doing over 200 million euro a year in sales, but they predict this will be a bigger business for them because there are many other chocolate companies in the world. So one early proponent of this was Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's have always been trying to solve this problem themselves and have focused a lot on being ethically sound. Ben & Jerry's and Tony's Open Chain were a match made in heaven. They started working together and creating various products. So that's obviously a huge deal. Now, I understand that Ben & Jerry's helped Tony's Chocolonely break into the US market, and that is how they've become so huge in recent years, because the expansion into the biggest market in the world for chocolate, I believe, which is the USA, that expansion was possible thanks to the help of Ben & Jerry's. So not just Ben & Jerry's are using Tony's Open Chain, but actually Mr. Beast, when he was trying to create Feastables, his chocolate bar, which is one of the biggest chocolate bars in the US thanks to his huge YouTube following, Mr. Beast discovered the same problems, that all this chocolate was being made through child labor, child slavery. And when he started researching how can he solve this himself, Tony's Chocolonely was the only solution he could find that was doing a great job of sorting this problem out. So Mr. Beast decided to have Tony's Open Chain create his brand of chocolate. So when you get a Feastables bar, they are created by Tony's Open Chain. The chocolate comes from them. So you know that along with Tony's Chocolonely, you're having ethically sourced chocolate. I mentioned earlier about the shape of the chocolate bar. Here you can see a visual representation made by CNBC Make It's YouTube channel, who did a great video on this subject. You can see here the shapes of the chocolate bar actually represent the shape of countries in Africa where they're sourcing the chocolate from. So it's a visual reminder of the specific countries, even to that detail of the disparity in profits coming from different countries in Africa. And that's what the shapes mean, in case you've ever wondered. Each shape represents a different country. So what's the takeaways from a company like this? Tony's Chocolate was born not because three guys sat around thinking, how can I get rich? They sat around trying to make a difference. And when they couldn't make the difference themselves, they decided to be the difference themselves. They couldn't convince other companies to make the product they wanted. So they decided, we're going to make it ourselves. And that is an unbelievable founding story. And the fact that the guy got lots of publicity by highlighting the issue in such an extreme way in having himself arrested, sure, it's an extreme example, but you can take a lot away from that in terms of being all in to get your message across and making a lot of noise. He made a lot of noise about the problem they were trying to solve. And then when they launched the chocolate bar, they already had that momentum, that publicity behind them, which they exploited perfectly to launch the chocolate bar, and became a huge deal in Holland for years before they expanded out into the rest of the world. Their mission was transparent from the beginning. They wanted to solve the chocolate supply chain problem in the world and change the chocolate industry forever. They had a clear mission. So when you bought one of these chocolate bars, you knew exactly what they believed in. I can't say the same thing about Mars or Hershey's or these other chocolate bars. I just think they're about making chocolate and making money. But you know the mission behind this chocolate bar. And I think that's a really powerful message. And you do think about it when you buy one. So, unbelievable business. Tony sold his share of the company. A big conglomerate bought 51% of the company, I think back in 2011. So he's been gone for a while, still owns a piece of the company, still visits the office. But the most important thing is the message and the founding philosophy has stayed and has actually got bigger, which is the most important thing. So the company seems to be in good hands with people who are ethically sourcing steel. The message, the reason for the company to exist is still there. And the problem, believe it or not, 20 years later, the problem is still there, which I think also helps Tony's Chocolonely stand out. And that is why they had a record year in 2024, $233 million. Unbelievable. Lots of lessons to be learned from this company. Find the problem that no one else is solving, or find something that you wish existed. Have an idea, something you wish existed. You can't find it, make it yourself.